My client got approved for 193K in funding for his company in less than 2 months. So in less than 60 days. So on this video, I'm going to let you steal his business funding strategy for 193K in business funding. And I'm going to give you all the data points that are relevant so that you can get access to the same amount of funding. And if you stick all the way into the end, I'm going to show you this one single factor that has been making the hugest difference when it comes to getting access to over 100K in business funding in 2025 and 2026 and beyond. So you're going to want to know this data point because it is game changing. So without any further ado, let's get it. So let's take a deep dive into this client's credit report. So when it comes to getting business funding, of course, your personal credit is obviously going to be one of the biggest determining factors when it comes to getting access to this amount of funding. Your personal credit score can literally be the determining factor between getting no funding and getting six figures, even seven figures in funding. It can all start here. And if you're at less than $4 million of revenue, then you're going to want to pay attention to this. But within your personal profile, it's very important that you pay attention to the data points. So that's why we set each and every one of our clients up with a game plan that breaks all of this information down. Like, for example, here, this client, when he came in, his credit score was a lot lower than this because he had to pay down his utilization, which I'll talk about here shortly. But currently, right now, he's at the 770 to 780 ish range with all of the three credit bureaus. Also, one thing we'll see here is that this client has had credit history for more than 10 years. This is very important. I'm telling you, when you have credit history for this long, it's going to help you out a ton. A lot of you guys are sitting on credit history for this long and you don't really understand the power that you have. But this client, that's exactly what he had. He's not above 524, which is very good. It's going to be very important for moving forward, say at least with Chase Bank, that you don't have as many personal accounts. So you have to be very strategic about which accounts that you apply for. Now, highest credit limit, this is a huge thing. This is why this client was able to get access to this amount of funding. At least one of the reasons why he was able to get access to this amount of funding. You see 36K, so 36,500 really, that this client has on just one credit limit. I tell you guys all the time that if you want to get access to high limits on the business side, make sure that you have high limits on the personal side. So that's one thing that this client has for him or has going for him that helps him out a ton. Now, hard increase was pretty low when the client came in because, again, he hadn't been applying for any personal accounts. Matter of fact, he didn't have any new personal accounts within the last year. So that was great. And I'm telling you, these metrics, a lot of you guys think that it just doesn't matter, but I'm telling you, it makes all the difference. So now what I want to do is talk about his credit utilization and the different personal credit cards that he has. Now let's talk about the personal credit cards. Then we'll go to the funding strategy. And then I'll tell you, only if you stick around, what the number one determining factor for getting six figures plus in funding has been in 2025 and 2026 and beyond. Now, because the game has changed a lot. Now let's take a look here. So this client, he has a lot of personal accounts, at least personal credit card accounts, but these all have been aged. So if you look at the date open here, most of these, look at this, like he hasn't opened up any cards in 5 years. That's very, very important. And it makes a huge difference. That's why I always tell you guys, you have to be very strategic. Don't just watch YouTube videos, watch reels on Instagram or whatever social media site, TikTok or what have you, and just apply for the next card and put it on your personal credit just because you really have to know what you're doing. I'm telling you, a lot of you guys are really throwing yourself backwards by not understanding this information. But either way, this client, he did the right thing. He wasn't adding just a ton of random accounts on his personal credit, so it really paid off for him. But when he came in, though, his credit utilization was high because he was using his cards for his business, which what I see over and over and over again. We did fix that, which I'll talk about here shortly. But you even see the highlights like that's when I make these, I literally just go in Google Sheets, I copy the document over and I take out all of the proprietary information. And a lot of times, you just see a lot of this stuff still on here because this is things that we were looking at internally. But either way, these are some of the client's cards: Capital One, Discover, Chase, Navy Federal, Pentagon, Federal, or FCU, and then some store cards. But again, you have two cards with high limits. If you have two cards with high limits, I'm telling you, it's going to fare a lot better for you on the business side. And it's important to understand the balance. There's a balance when it comes to having high limits for your business credit cards and not having too much. Let me explain. This client has a total of 116K. I would stop here. If I'm this client, which I will be advising him this, or we have already, of course, I would not apply for anything else on the personal side. When you hit over 100, you're really good. Unless your lifestyle calls for more, you're spending over 100K a month or something, then yeah, you're going to need more than that. But unless you're spending this amount, don't go any higher than this. I'm telling you, it's good to have that balance, because once you get higher, 175, 200, 250, the banks start to see that, and it's going to be harder to get funding on the business side. So this client was set up pretty well. And that's another thing that I want to express. Guys, when you see someone that gets this 193K, when you see results like this, not every time the client is going to be like just barely qualifying and you were able to pull out just by strategy, you were able to pull out this, these different type of plays and all this and that. Every time you see a client getting this high amount in funding, it's going to be because they were also in a good position, right? Let's just be honest here, because every time someone gets this amount, they had to be in some type of position, but some are better than others starting out. And this client was in a good position. So I'm just going to be honest about that. That did help with his approval. Obviously, having a strategy and having the relationship managers, which I'll talk about here in just a second, help, but also being in position helped too as well. So for you guys that's already in position and you just need to know exactly what to do, I'm telling you, you work with someone like me, you're going to get there a lot faster. But let's keep going. Okay, now let's talk about it. Let's talk about the funding strategy. How did this client get 193K? Let's break out the math. So when the client first got started, he really needed to pay down on his cards. So we went for a personal loan for 40K. And I've said this before, I'm throwing it out like it's just 40K personal loan. When you know what you're doing, it's not hard to get this amount of cash from the banks by leveraging your personal credit. You just need to know where to go, and depending on the situation in the bank, how to fill out the application. And it's really not a big deal. You got a 700 plus score to get this much from the banks. So we took that money, paid down on his cards, and we waited for those to report. And then it was time to get active. So with Chase Bank alone, we were able to get 85K. So 85K, let me take this excess off. 85K just from Chase, and this was two different cards. So not the 0% card, but the one of the other cards, the Premier, and then one of the 0% cards. We were able to get a 40K approval and then another 45K approval. So that's 85K. So 85K just from Chase Bank, and this is after a lot of the changes that Chase has made. So just to let you know, you still can get a high amount from Chase when you know what you're doing and you're set up correctly. The next approval, we did see a 50K approval with Citizens Bank. So boom. That's one of the banks that we really like going to for our clients if the client qualifies and they're in the state, right? But because this client is in a state that has a Citizens Bank qualified, boom, a 50K approval, which we normally see with Citizens, a 35 to 50K approval, and that's all a 0% interest. And then we went to Bank of America at 18K. I have a video coming out soon about how to get business funding from Bank of America, or depending on when you see this, it may already be out. So you add that up together for his business, 193K. And guess what? It's only 4 banks. How you like that? How do you like that? 4 banks, 193K. So this client is stoked. He is super excited. His goal was more like 125 to 150K ish. And we've smashed that goal out the park, and we're not even finished. We have a few more banks to go to. So I'm telling you, it's possible once you're set up properly and you have the right relationship managers, because again, for Citizens and for other banks, we did have relationship managers that we sent him to. So that's it. That's the strategy. And we have some other banks on here that we haven't went to yet. And I normally would take those out, but some people were complaining that I had some blanks on here for the other banks that we hadn't even went to yet. So this is not it for him. We're going to hit over 200, 1000%. And this is what we went to. So still my client's funding strategy. And now, what is the thing that I've been teasing the whole time? What is the number one data point that I've been seeing that has been a common denominator for all of the clients that have gotten over 6 figures in funding? Business age. Guys, can you get funding with a brand new business that you just started today? Yes, but is it optimal? No, it's not. You're not going to get more funding than someone that has been in business longer, right? I see typically with a new business, the range is more 50 to 150K. Now it could be a lot more. Have we gotten 200K? Yeah, I just posted a client that got 200K with a new business, but it's less likely than it will be for a client that has a business that has been established. And for this client, he's had a business for 10 years. So when you have an LLC, and look, I'm not saying that he's made money and he got tax returns and everything for this amount of time. No, I just mean that he has an LLC that he's been the existing owner for 10 years. So when you have that going on, I'm telling you, It helps out a ton with the banks. That's one of the most determining factors that I've been seeing that's really been making a huge difference with the banks. I'm seeing newer businesses make or get less and less in funding, and I'm seeing the more established LLCs have more. So if you have an LLC that is inactive, but you've had it for a while, it's time to dust it off. It's time to get it back active and use that for funding versus using your newer LLC, because it's going to make a huge difference. And that's one of the differences that it made here for my client. And my client, by the way, here is in Florida, by the way. So just to let you know what banks we had to choose from. He's in Florida. And anything else, really, that's pretty much it. All this was no docs too, by the way. We didn't provide any documentation at all, financial docs or anything for any of the approvals that you see here. But I think that's pretty much it. So, of course, still my client strategy. Let me know if you have any questions about how you can get access to this amount of funding in the comments below, or you ain't got no questions. You ready to just go ahead and work with me and make this happen too. Well, stop wasting time. Go ahead and click the link down below in the description. Set up a call with me and my team, and we'll talk about how to get you access to up to 250K in business funding too as well. And if you liked this video, I'm sure you'll like the video on the screen too as well.